somebody of Oulanya's profile being sick inevitably raises many comments, many issues. Some negative, some positive. What I would appeal to our people, to the people of Uganda, and really to humanity in general, is that when somebody is sick, people should pay due attention and should refrain from utterances that could make the environment, or for that matter the patient, uncomfortable, or even worse, depending on the information that they may be passing. I met him before we became a member of parliament, and I met him on the streets of Kampala. I met my good friend Mao, and we greeted, but he was with another person. And Mao told me that, oh, this is Jacob Oulanya. And by the way, Jacob Oulanya is closer to your side, as opposed to me, who is a well-known DP. So, but this was really friendly discussion and an introduction. I did not realize that at that time, that Jacob Oulanya was not only going to become a very reliable and dependable cadre, official of government, legislator, deputy speaker, and subsequently speaker of parliament at that material time. The next significant interaction I had with Jacob was when we were talking with Joseph Konyi's group, Lord's Resistance Army. In 2004, in December, following the good work that Betty Bigombe had done in meeting Joseph Kony, a meeting was organized for government to meet the representatives of Lord's Resistance Army. So we went to Kitugum, we flew to Kitugum, checked in at the Boma Hotel, and we traveled with Oulanya and with the former leader of the opposition, Ogenga Latigo, and some other leaders from Acholi. We went to Palabek. I think this is now Lamour district. And at that time, of course, the whole area was completely abandoned. People had gone for protection in the camps. We eventually arrived at the hill site where, after walking, because we left vehicles at a distance, we walked with Oulanya and Ogenga and other leaders, and we reached the site where the talks were. We carried out the talks. Jacob Oulanya and Ogenga Latigo were some of the active people in these discussions with the Lord's Resistance Army. The Lord's Resistance Army group was led by the Lord's Resistance Army spokesperson, Kolo, at that time, and he had a number of other LRA leaders. We really agreed that the conflict, the fighting should stop, and the war should end. We went back together. We later on got reports that LRA was continuing with its attacks on civilian population, and therefore UPDF naturally responded, and that compromised that gain we had scored with the full participation of my brother Jacob Oulanya. So that was now a field experience, 2004 December in Palabek, in now Ramo district. That's the area actually which is represented by Honorable Hilary Onek. So we have therefore come from far in terms of just meeting on Kampala streets, then him becoming a very effective legislator, and then meeting the bushes of Palabek in the then Kitugumu district, which is now Ramo, in search for peace. But his search for peace and his support for peace efforts continued. Even later on, when we had our discussions in Juba with Lord's Resistance Army, Jacob Oulanya was more or less part. He was not an official member of the delegation, but he was an advisor. He fully participated in many of the things that we are engaged in, and we deeply appreciated his wise counsel and his depth of knowledge about the situation and about the people that were involved in this conflict. So he played a positive role. See, Jacob was very knowledgeable, and he would therefore be able to advise government when necessary, or advise and counsel the opposition as appropriate, all aimed at expediting the business of Parliament and therefore expediting the provision of services to the people of Uganda. So we benefited from his vast knowledge. Let me also say that he really went out of his way to ensure that the opposition was as productive as possible, and that was not just a ping-pong between government and the opposition. His aim, his objective, what he worked for, was to get the best out of everybody, whether in the government or in the opposition, for the benefit of the country.